What would you do if your significant other asked you to have an open relationship? Dude. She asked. I said yes. We agreed to polyamory. She was already having an affair for the past 3 months before the conversation. 9-year marriage. Filed complaint to divorce last week. For everyone asking, we were married 9 years with little to no conflict whatsoever. Trust was never an issue. I was completely blindsided by the affair. Came out of absolutely nowhere when one of her close friends found out and told me. For everyone offering support, etc., thanks. It's really appreciated. Being cheated on or your significant other having an affair is devastating and unbearably lonely in the aftermath. I'm fairly certain I'm never going to have that level of trust with anyone ever again. It scars you. Don't care how tough you think you are. The fact that they had no conflict in 9 years is a huge problem. Story 2. My ex brought it up once. We were a bit wine intoxicated, so I thought it was just a one-off fun chat. A while later, she mentions how we're still very young and she's not sure what comes next. Getting married and then that's it. But life rolled on and we moved and lived together, etc. In January, she told me she wants to break up. At the time, I was blindsided, but looking back now, it's so clear what she was hinting at. I don't have a problem, I get it. I wish her well. But I sure wish I hadn't been strung along for 2 years before that point. Story 3. I would say no because I'm not interested in sleeping with other people, and I know having my partner sleep with others would not maintain our emotional bond. I would consider leaving because while open relationships work for a lot of people, my partner asking me to open would show a great misunderstanding of who I am and what I've been through. A big enough misunderstanding of who I am at my core that we should not be together. Story 4. I actually said yes, and it ended the relationship very quickly. It was not that much of a stretch for us. We would participate in group scenes, but we always came as a pair. There were never any issues, and it even brought us closer together. We were able to flirt as a team and explore ourselves. There was never any jealousy. But when she requested we open it up, she also started ignoring our explicit, agreed-upon terms. More than any physical contact that felt like cheating. And when I spoke up about it, I got dumped. Story 5. Don't do it. My best friend and his wife are in an open relationship right now, and it's going badly. It was fine at first, but now their marriage is in shambles because she caught feelings for one of the guys she's been having intimacy with, and now that guy is threatening to put my friend in the hospital if he doesn't leave. He spent the last 2 weekends with me in my apartment because the guy's been spending time at his house with his wife. He's so freaking sad. I can see the pain in his eyes while he tells me about it. Seems like instead of leaving, he should have called the cops on a threat made in his own house. Story 6. I'd say no, but I would want to sit and have several conversations about why they wanted that and how we can retool our relationship if that's what's needed. It could ultimately lead to an ending, but he's my person. I'm not throwing that away when it could be salvaged. Story 7. Well, I agreed, but only out of fear of losing her. It broke me, and I lost her anyway to a guy she met in a swinger club and who basically could be her father. Never again. Also, everyone I know who did it learned the hard way crap, like this doesn't work out in like 99% of cases. Story 8. Sit down and discuss. Depending on the reasons, it will be the end of a relationship or not. If it's not the end, then we're establishing boundaries and going forward. Part of that conversation is stating your own feelings, truthfully. If you have any uneasy feelings or outright fears, they must be discussed. My conversation went like this. I understand your needs in this situation, and to be honest, I don't know if this is something that I can do because I've never done it before, and because I've been cheated on 3 times. I am willing to try, and if I can't do it, then our relationship will end. Honesty goes a long way, both ways. An open relationship can function well if both parties are honest with each and with themselves. A lot of people can do it. A lot of people can't. If you're one that can't, then do not struggle through it. Ultimately, it's not worth it. Trying to struggle through will only poison your relationship with someone you love. Resentment will grow and you can end up hating someone you loved, which to me is a worse thought than ending it even though you love them. Story 9. I've been in this situation 2 times. First time I was young and had no experience. It was my first boyfriend and I had a lot of family problems, so I was afraid of being alone. I accepted it and it was a mistake. We broke up 6 months into the open relationship deal and I was left feeling really empty. Funny how he got married with one of the girls he met in that period. He's now single after a nasty divorce. About 5 years later, a boyfriend tried to pull the same one on me. I just ended things right away and saved myself from the pain. This guy is still single to date and older than 40. So, I would stay away from any guy who wants an open relationship, especially if it started as monogamy and he wants to change the rules of the game. Story 10. I honestly would love to have the discussion with him and feel a little relieved. Due to my personal health or stress or schedule, I know I'm not meeting their needs fully. I also don't like having to compromise and have a miserable time. I do, however, want their needs met and them to flourish. There would have to be some serious rules, but I definitely think it'd work out for the best. I also would love the opportunity to explore myself as well. I'm perfectly fine with not ever having those experiences, but if it were an option, I'd love to know. Something else I feel is important to say, especially since I haven't seen anyone else say it. I want my partner to feel comfortable bringing anything to me. I think a healthy relationship is one where everyone feels comfortable to bring up absolutely anything without being met with hostility and ultimatums. If I haven't done my part to foster that relationship, then I have failed my partner. I think I might be gay. I think I might be trans. I think I might want to explore. I think I want to change careers. I think I want to change religions. I think my needs have changed. Whatever it may be, I want to be a safe space for them. Story 11. Mine asked me 7 months ago and I stupidly accepted. I'm monogamous still, and it hurts. Even on the best days, I think about it. I told him how I felt about it, but he said he loves the other person too much to end it. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 3 years and it hit like a rock. Story 12. Already responded for myself, but another story. My sister was bi and my brother-in-law said he was okay if she dated women, but not men. She did and enjoyed that time. After that, she decided she was comfortable if he wanted to date some women. They set parameters beforehand and were very open. In the end, they both realized that they had the fun they wanted and decided not to see other people. So it's a mixed bag. It depends on the people, communication levels, established bonds, and trust. I couldn't handle seeing my significant other seeing other people, but as I've stated previously, I'd be okay with a temporary third coming into our relationship. Story 13. I've wondered if it would work for my partner and I at some different points, but obviously we'd need to work on fixing any serious issues in the relationship before really considering that. If we were in a healthy place in our relationship, we'd discuss the idea and what sort of boundaries we'd have, sit on it for a while to make sure it's something we wanted, and then proceed as we've decided after a particular amount of time. I've got some poly friends that have done it successfully for years, so I don't think it's impossible if you're going about it in a healthy way. Story 14. Break up. I'd assume that if my partner suggested it, that they already found someone they wanted to cheat on me with and just wanted my permission to do so. A lot of open relationships fail for obvious reasons. I can't count the number of stories I've read on here along the lines of, I wanted an open relationship, but when my partner started getting some too, I got jealous. Now things are screwed and our relationship feels over. Story 15. Depends on the terms. My wife and I have a group of friends, 4 couples, including us. We're all very openly flirty with each other, and each of us have kissed at least one person in the group besides our partner at least once. If the polyamory was limited to that group, yeah, cool. If it's just anyone, anywhere, anytime, that's a problem. Communication and healthy boundaries on all sides are incredibly important in any relationship, monogamous or not. If this is a situation you're actively dealing with, you need to be as open and honest with your partner as possible. And you need to ask the same of them. If you aren't comfortable with something, say so. Story 16. My partner asked me this months ago. Little did he know I was building up the courage to ask him the same thing. We went to couples therapy to ensure we're in a good place in our relationship before introducing others to the dynamic. Ethical non-monogamy is not for everyone, but it has been incredible for us. I wish I could pull all the feelings into words, but it's such a freeing feeling knowing that I can follow my heart in exploring relationships with others, whether they be romantic or platonic, without the fear of jeopardizing my current partnerships. Story 17. I see all the quippy responses and they're very, well, quippy. Reddit is great for robotic responses. Honestly, ask yourself how you feel about it and ask yourself and your significant other why they're asking. It's either going to work for you or it isn't. But if the idea disgusts you, then it's probably not for you. I've been in an open relationship with my partner for 17 years. We're committed to each other, love each other, and honestly can't think of any other way to be. We're not really dating anyone right now, but we probably will soon. I wouldn't be able to have the friendships I have at the level I have them without it. Even though they're platonic, the fact that we've already worked through all the mess that most couples seem to have, with one partner hangs out a lot with someone of whatever gender they're attracted to, means that it doesn't matter. We just get on with life. A lot of people try an open relationship because they want to fill in something that's missing in their own relationship. A lot of people go into an open relationship thinking they're going to win it, too. That also won't work. If you're comparing yourself to whatever other partner they have or comparing your ability to attract the partner to theirs, well, woof. But if it's you, it's you. Story 18. I wouldn't be against it, in principle. Like anything else, we talk about it and set up ground rules. Using protection is non-negotiable, for one. Ideally, we'd also speak with each other before bringing anyone else into the relationship, but it wouldn't bother me if the latter happened spontaneously, so long as our main relationship remained the focus. Story 19. I'm gonna get so much hate. But open relationships are just BS. Show me healthy, happy, and normal people in their 50s that have an open relationship. Try 60s or 70s. It's all young people who have their own host of issues, whether it's commitment issues or confidence or being alone. I've never met a couple that had an open relationship where both parties were legitimately happy with the endeavor. Story 20. If my significant other asked me for an open relationship, I would tell her that if that's really what she wants to do, I would have to break up with her. Not because I don't like her anymore, but because I don't want her to be attached with just me when she has the constant desire to be with someone else. The thought of my SO being with someone else would simply break me in pieces every time. Story 21. Sure, as long as we establish equal boundaries. If she can see other people, so can I. Fair is fair. Someone who wants to see other people is going to anyway. It's not like closed relationships or marriage stops everyone from screwing around. If my significant other decides that, rather than cheat on me behind my back, she values a relationship enough to be honest with me about it up front and communicate. That's good with me. Story 22. I would laugh, because we already have one. Her partner lives with us and is an awesome person. I'm glad my girlfriend is happy. I trust her and love her. I never would have expected it, though. In high school, I had a girlfriend that was monogamous with me, but then cheated. It hurt. Turns out it was the lying that bothered me. Trust is the key. Story 23. My ex asked for this randomly one night. She'd been being weird for the past week or so. I think she was getting frisky with some guy and decided to ask permission instead of cheating. It broke me, but I said yes because I don't want to be the one to hold her back from what she wanted. She didn't talk to me for a little bit after that and ended it with me a couple of weeks later. I'm technically the one who ended it, but it is complicated. Story 24. Break up. The fact that they're mentioning it means they already have someone on their mind. They are about to or have already started laying the groundwork as well. It's basically asking permission to cheat. Unless you both magically had someone else lined up who you wanted to sleep with, then I think it would be incredibly unbalanced and would sway heavily in the favor of the one who asked initially. Most open relationships sway heavily one way, and rarely do both partners seek equal intimacy outside of the relationship. Story 25. That's a tough one. On one hand, I love them very much and don't have the desire to open a relationship. On the other hand, I have a pretty severe chronic illness, eventually fatal, where it's difficult to even feel alive enough to go about daily life, let alone intimate stuff. So I feel often that they deserve better and to not be burdened by me, and if they asked, I would probably say yes on that basis alone. I wouldn't want them to be alone when I worsen. Story 26. Break up. I'm not going through that crap again. Last year, my ex told me he wanted to add another person to our relationship. I told him I was okay with it, but I wanted to wait a little bit because I had some stuff going on. Things got worse with me. I was still saying no, and I found my way into a mental hospital. I got out on my birthday. I would then find out my ex had started officially dating this person I told him I wanted to wait with. He intentionally went behind my back to cheat on me while I was in a mental hospital on my birthday. Polyamory is a sorry excuse people use to cheat. I'm sorry if you get offended by that, but after what I have experienced, I can't see it any other way. Story 27. Leave. In order to protect myself so the heartbreak isn't crippling. If he wanted an open relationship, I won't deny him of that. But he will not have an open relationship with me still in the picture. There are many things I consider far more intimate that would absolutely end me if he treated the women the same way he treats me in an open relationship. The soft and gentle touches, the protective firmness of his hand taking mine into his own. Me being cuddled deeply as I decompress from work, or if my heart is hurting, the random affectionate smooches I receive, or him secretly enjoying running errands with me, or us opening up about our pasts or sharing our deepest secrets or fears with each other, or him secretly enjoying watching Disney princess movies and him playfully protecting me during horror movies when I get spooked. Call me selfish, but I don't want him to share that kind of intimacy with multiple women except for me. As long as he will have me. He can do those things with other women after we break up. Story 28. Be really, really happy. I'm very much not a strict believer in monogamy. I think it's pointless. I love intimacy. I love having intimacy with different people. I think it'd be good for my fiancé to be with more people, to be honest. I'm his second woman ever. I've been with too many people to count, and I'm extremely comfortable with my body. I think it would do his confidence some good to experience more intimacy. I'd support him 100% as long as we don't bring home any diseases. To be clear, I'm happy and satisfied with our intimate life, but an open relationship would definitely be a bonus for me. Story 29. My comment will be buried now, but here's a view from the other side. We had a monogamous relationship and then marriage for years before mutually deciding to open. It's one of the best things we've ever done for a relationship. We have clear cut boundaries and rules. Play safe, stay honest, and put our family's needs first always. We don't have veto powers, but we communicate very clearly if we're uncomfortable with partner choices. It solved some lingering trust issues I've had from previous crappy relationships. There is occasionally jealousy, because we're all human and it's a normal human emotion, but we talk about it and work out what needs changing to fulfill our emotional needs. It's not for everyone. For us, it's been a revelation, and I don't think we could ever go back to a closed marriage. Story 30. When she asked me about adding partners to our relationship, I asked her to elaborate what exactly she wanted to do that she needed more partners. She said that she'd wanted to see me have intimacy with another man and possibly have a triad. So we went for it, and it was fine. She really did want to just see me have intimacy with other men. So when I asked her to couple swap and swing, she asked me the same questions. I said I genuinely wanted to see her with other people because watching her with another partner the first time was exhilarating. And from there, we've gone into having an open relationship. It's more than a year since we've added any play partners to the rotation. I think E&M can work, but it's a rarity. Most of the questions I get about it from people I know or the questions I see on Reddit are generally from people with specific goals for themselves in mind and not where the relationship can go. Story 31. Honestly, I think it's easier to start out open. Otherwise, this question can sometimes trigger defensiveness based on insecurity or incompatibility in preferred relationship style. That is not to say there are not tons of examples of monogamous couples opening up successfully. I think the greatest chance of success would involve discussing open relationships in general, rather than abruptly asking for one. Genuine curiosity about what elements of monogamy and non-monogamy might appeal to both people, not just one, can go a long way. Story 32. I would break up. Open relationships means opening a relationship up to diseases, accidental pregnancies, and scary situations. Every risk someone takes during a one-night stand now impacts the two of you. Also, dating and arranging dates takes a lot of time and effort that detracts from the original relationship. I wouldn't be okay with it. If the proposition was to vet and share a partner together, that would be a different story. Story 33. So actually, I'm in an open relationship. Open from the start, and it's just wonderful. I was the one initiating it, but never slept with anyone else than him. Closed relationships put a lot of pressure on me, and even though I love the person I'm with very much, I can't commit 100% because of a lot of personal stuff I'm going through. I'm a very jealous person, but I don't want to be, so it helps to improve myself in this way. I believe the goal of a relationship is to be an unconditional love. That means for me as well to be able to share the person, because all you want is the best for him or her. But that's my very personal opinion on that. I can see why it could be a red flag for others. Story 34. I've never seen it work out. And the ones where it's working out are so shaky or unstable, it genuinely terrifies me. Just the question of bringing it up is enough to raise countless red flags in my opinion, such as, they're likely already seeing someone, you're not enough, they're really greedy, etc. It is, in my experience, very rare for cases of open relationships being long-term and stable, because humans aren't polyamorous. We mate for life. That all being said, the one time this question was pulled on me, I cut the relationship off the next day. I love them deeply, but that's one thing I will never be able to do in a relationship. If it were to happen again, I wouldn't wait a day this time. I'd cut it immediately as the question drew to a close. Not many questions show someone's true colors like this one does. Story 35. As a non-monogamous person, I make it a point to only pursue other S&M or E&M or polyamorous people because I know monogamous people won't be comfortable with the type of relationship style I prefer. I won't cheat, but I also won't let myself be smothered. That being said, it's not about what your partner wants. It's about what you are comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with the idea of them sleeping with you at the same time as others, make that boundary clear. But don't be surprised if that ends the relationship altogether. That being said, there's tons of mono people in poly relationships because they trust and respect their partner enough to know that sharing physical intimacy isn't a failing in their part to satisfy the other person, as is a common misconception and fear. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 36. There is so much negativity here. Holy cow. Okay, I'll put it this way. My boyfriend and I have said we have so much love to give. Why reserve it for one person? There are so many people in this world. Do you really think you're meant to be with one person for 50 years? There can be so many people out there whose lives you can change. Being open isn't all about intimacy. This thread shows how fragile everyone's trust is. Story 37. I would want to break up. If my partner is interested in seeing other people, that alone is enough for me to lose interest and trust. feel like it doesn't matter if I say no. If I did, I would feel like they're unsatisfied with the relationship or interested in something else. I wouldn't want to hold them back, and I would be worried about their loyalty after a while, if monogamy is not their thing anymore. Story 38. My wife called me into the room during the first week of a new job. She told me that we were going to be polyamorous with our close friends that we'd known for years, our extremely vanilla friends, our non-poly, married friends, our immature, irresponsible friends. I asked how we would even ask them. Turns out she had already had the conversation with the husband, and the wife also didn't know. I said no, and now she's trying to take the house in the middle of this bubble. So I guess that answers your question. Story 39. I break up with him. I had a talk on this matter near the start of my current relationship. We know each other's boundaries, and I wouldn't be negotiating. It'd be a clear sign of disrespect to the serious conversation we held over 9 years ago. Might sound harsh or even close-minded, but I don't think an open relationship is healthy. It's a sign of insecurity and a lack of maturity. I feel if you can't see yourself staying with just one person, don't shackle them with a relationship tag. Make it clear that you want multiple people and live with the consequence. Anything other than that is pure selfishness. Story 40. My ex-wife asked me this, and that was the day we decided to divorce. She wanted to move several states away right as I was going to start school. I have an open relationship, and I saw absolutely not on both counts. This was after she cheated on me twice that she admitted. I caught her with another dude. Turns out after we split, she was actively talking to another dude and moved out with him. This is how it goes, as far as I can tell. Chances are, if you're being asked for an open relationship that wasn't established from the outset, the person already has someone else in mind or they've already been sleeping with them. It's a cheater's gambit to alleviate their guilt. Story 41. This actually happened to me. Went on a trip back to my hometown. Got back, and the night of my return was asked if I wanted to have an open polyamorous relationship. Was caught off guard and didn't agree to anything at first. Actually, nothing happened for a few months. Found out later she wanted to sleep with my best friend and cheated on me by making out with him while I was away. I forgave them both, and eventually we tried the polyamory thing. She was all in and jumped on the BFF as soon as she could. Eventually took a try at it too. She got jealous, accused me of cheating even though she agreed and then went missing for a night, only to come back to her home, argue with me, break down to tears, and we eventually broke up that night. She's now engaged to said ex-best friend. I am much better off with a loving woman that understands loyalty and trusts me as I do with her. Moral of the story, don't agree and run away as soon as that conversation happens. Story 42. I was the one who asked. It may have been the best thing I've ever done for myself. I was in a very unhealthy marriage of over 15 years, with minimal physical contact towards the end. It would sometimes go years without having intimacy because he just wasn't interested. My libido has always been on the higher side and over the years has diminished. At one point, I suspected he was asexual because he really just did not need any intimate contact. From the start, I had asked about having a polyamorous relationship because our physical needs were so different, but he declined. I was very frustrated, but I don't agree with being unfaithful. The marriage continued to deteriorate over the years, but he refused to consider divorce. I started developing romantic feelings towards my best friend and decided that I needed to be honest and open with both of them about it. I told him first. He was pretty okay with it, and we came to an agreement. A bit after that, he said he would be okay if I had a male partner too. But again, there was a lot of negotiation. Meanwhile, he was becoming more cruel and controlling. He would call me 30 times at the end of my day to find out exactly when I was coming home. He was completely ignoring my privacy to the point where he would just open the bathroom while I was using it to talk to me. If I locked the door, he would become irate. My other relationships were also showing me just how unhealthy my marriage was, and I tried lots of things to try and save it, but he was miserable and selfish. Eventually, I kicked him out and we're now divorced. I love being poly and have multiple long-term partners. It didn't make sense to me that one person could fulfill all my relationship needs, and now I understand that relationships ebb and flow. My communication with my partners is excellent, and we do frequent check-ins to reduce conflicts and talk about issues in a controlled manner. Poly has taught me so many things, and I know it's not for everyone, but I don't think I ever want to be in a monogamous relationship again. Story 43. We've talked about it already. Not as a serious consideration, but more as idle conversation. And both of us agree strongly it's a line we'd never cross. It's inconsistent with our values about intimacy, and frankly, we like each other too much to want to throw someone else in the mix. Personally, maybe it works for some people, but I don't really believe it can work long-term for most people. We're messing with some fundamental human psychology banking on the idea you'll never get more attached to a new partner than your romantic one. But oxytocin doesn't care about your prior statements of romantic fidelity. Oxytocin is going to do what it does and encourage pair bonding between partners. The chickens will come home to roost. Story 44. I just went through that. Spoiler, it ended badly. I was very confused. I said I would make an effort to try to understand her needs and see if I could live with it, but that I needed time and honesty. I got neither. She kept pushing to see and do more things with her romantic interest. We went to counseling pretty quick, but it amounted to next to nothing. In 4 weeks, I was in intense emotional distress from the worries, the lies, and the realization that she wanted to be with someone else more than being with me. It felt like the 7 years we spent together meant nothing to her. I ended it a week ago. I was a wreck. I'm being helped and have emotional and medical support. I know the road is long, but I'm getting better. My advice? Discuss it. Search for it if you think you would like it. If you feel any dishonesty, boundary breaking, or lack of involvement, end it and be clear that it's on him or her for not trying to work it out. If you feel that you can't do it emotionally, state it out loud, as clearly as possible. Put him or her in front of his or her responsibilities. Story 45. An open relationship is a doomed relationship. Open relationship, ethical monogamy, polyamory, polygamy. Call it what you want, but people are notoriously jealous creatures. If my partner were to approach me with this idea, I'd question why they did so in the first place. Everyone likes to think that it's reasonable to discuss and talk through such a development, but the seed is already planted. If you're lucky, your partner is just curious to explore themselves, which is something that can be done together. If you're unlucky, they're already looking for a way out without compromising their security. Don't let the premise tempt you. Story 46. After a steady 5-year monogamous relationship, we opened it up and quickly went to polyamory. I love it. Sure, some aspects are difficult and require lots of communication, but it's nowhere near the issues we had being monogamous. Is it for everyone? No. We're both queer pansexual and feel there's so much to do, explore, and experience. Feels amazing letting her go and have fun. She deserves it, and I do too. But we never disconnect. We keep communicating, and probably most important of all, honesty. Unfiltered honesty. If we would break up, I would never go back to a monogamous relationship. I've had my fair share of them, and none made me a better person. Being polyamorous helped me communicate, deal with my social anxiety, jealousy issues, and self-confidence. I can give and receive love without thinking I don't deserve it or that I'm doing something wrong. Story 47. If this was brought up, we would have some serious problems and it would lead to the end of the relationship. The whole point of being in a relationship is to build and create a life with someone in my eyes. There is a mutual respect and trust that my wife and I have built up over time with one another, and to me, intimacy is a part of that. I believe that intimacy is one of the most vulnerable and special connections that you can have with someone, and unfortunately, society has become so hyper-intimate that everyone believes they need to sleep with everybody, and that if they're not entertained in a relationship, that it's time to move on. If your partner's mind is already going that way, there's most likely no turning back, especially because it is so easy to get attention online from anyone that even if you don't agree to this, they may likely end up cheating. The one thing in your power in this situation is your own answer and actions. In 99% of open relationships, one partner is only doing it to appease the other partner and then never ends well. If you're sternly against open relationships, tell your partner and then decide what it is you will do upon their answer. Do not ignore the red flags when they give their reason for wanting and suggesting an open relationship. Good luck. Pretty sure if they're asking this question, they 100% already have someone in mind who they're waiting to sleep with and are just trying to get the okay. Story 48. Someone who is non-monogamous for 15 years, I'd recommend having a serious discussion about the reason behind it. In 15 years, I had 27 difficult relationships that all ended poorly and 3 marriages that did. This was all with people who were on board 100%. After my most recent divorce and the trials in that relationship, I'd recommend not going down the road of an open relationship. It appears to me after 15 years of doing this that someone who needs an open relationship isn't completely satisfied in their current one. I am currently in a monogamous relationship, but we both said we would be non-monogamous. Thing is, neither of us have the desire to have others. Both my significant other and I come from non-monogamous backgrounds. Hope this helps. Story 49. For the longest time, say the last 20 years or so, I would have been very, very much against it, being mono myself, but things have changed recently. I began to realize it might not be the end of the world. But to be more specific, I would be, if not ready, at least ready to consider a polyamorous relationship. A completely open one where either can just go out and do anything they want? No. That would be a deal breaker for me. Big time. That would undermine so much of what is me, that even suggesting it would probably send me into a downward spiral of depression, which, to be fair, wouldn't change anything that much from my current state. Being me, I would just probably say yes and give them permission to do anything, then go cry in a corner and finally complete an exit strategy and be done with this world for good. Story 50. My significant other and I tried an open relationship for almost a year a while back. The most important thing is to make sure you're both on the same page about everything. Talk over the reason why you would want to try an open relationship. Establish some background rules. For us, we decided to have an open communication about everything. We set some boundaries about how we expected each other to proceed, what was allowed, and how far it could be taken. Any interactions were talked about, just to make sure we were both comfortable with where things were going. That being said, I can certainly see the appeal of a don't ask, don't tell kind of approach. We've been together for the better part of a decade, though. So we decided we didn't want this experiment to jeopardize the relationship. As such, if one of us wanted to pump the brakes, the other honored that. In the end, we ended up closing the relationship off again. We're still together and happy to this day. So, to answer your question specifically, it depends on what you want and why your partner brings it up in the first place. For some, it could be seen as a sign that your partner is trying to find somebody else or screw around without sacrificing the stability of a relationship. For us, it was that we had spent a large portion of our youth together and wanted to try experimenting outside our comfort zones. In any case, it's time to have a long, open, honest, and sometimes tough conversation with your partner. Most importantly, respect yourself, respect your partner, and respect each other's boundaries. Story 51. Going to probably go against the grain here a bit. I've already had hypothetical discussions about this with my wife before. We've had a couple triads with a female friend before and are open to potentially doing it again. We also concluded that we would probably both be fine with something more long-term and a sort of throuple arrangement, if we found the right girl that worked for both of us. But our relationship always comes first, and we both have to agree to whatever we plan to do involving another person. As soon as one or the other feels threatened by the involvement of the new person, they can hit the brakes on the whole thing if they need to. But for most people, having a partner suddenly bring up opening the relationship basically means they wanted to cheat, while still having the safety of the current relationship to fall back on. Story 52. So this is actually something I've kind of been through. For context, I'm a bisexual woman and my partner and I have been together for about 5 years now. When we met, I was seeing several people and so was he. We had a very slow relationship. We both saw other people until about 6 months into our relationship, and then we were monogamous for about a year and a half. It was at that point a few things started to happen. I started to have issues with intimacy and I missed women, and he was likely missing the more vigorous intimacy I could no longer provide. He's never said that to me because he doesn't want to make me feel bad, but it's something I understand and want for him, even as I don't want to provide that myself anymore. It doesn't feel good for me now. That's when he suggested we open the relationship. It was challenging at first, and it took a lot of communication and processing of emotions to get where we are, but today, we are happily polyamorous. We both see whoever else we like and we still spend a lot of time together. It enables us to both have all our physical and romantic needs met without demanding things from each other that are unrealistic. We are still very committed to each other in a relationship. I do think we're both naturally inclined to this style of relationship and that it would not work for everyone. But it works for us and it was much less scary than I expected it to be. Before settling into polyamory, we explored swinging and I actually recommended that as a starting point. There are many people out there who do not want to bring emotions into the whole thing, and it was great to explore the physical side and process the emotions involved with that before getting into processing emotions involved in polyamory, which was much more of a relationship investment. Story 53. If it happened, it would be me proposing an open relationship before even starting a closed one. A closed relationship is just out of the question for me as a non-monogamous person. I just think monogamous and non-monogamous people just don't work out together. And I've had to end things with people who really loved me before and wanted to have a relationship because I knew either they'd be hurt if it was an open relationship or I would if it were closed. By the way, what a crap show of a thread, huh? I've never seen this many bigoted comments together. It didn't work for me, so it must make anyone miserable like I was. My neighbors as friends' nephews in a toxic open relationship, so they're all toxic. People in open relationships are just immature. Hey, schmucks. This is what y'all were saying about gay people decades ago. Some people are in healthy open relationships, but you usually hear only about the bad ones because broken people complain the loudest. No one's going to brag about being in a healthy relationship. Story 54. I would probably leave. I'm not the type of person to have multiple partners or just sleep around if I'm in a relationship. And it's a deal breaker if my husband felt like he needed to sleep with other people while we were married. It's just not for me and I don't share. And honestly, I feel if one partner in a previous monogamous relationship asks for an open relationship and is denied, then they're more likely to cheat. I might be wrong in that opinion, but it's just my opinion. I can't be in a relationship where I don't trust my partner. Story 55. Break up. There is no other answer. If they seriously want an open relationship and keep asking, leave them. They most likely aren't committed to you and or don't want to feel guilty for breaking up with you, so they offer an open relationship. There's also the possibility that they don't want to break up even if they don't want to be with you anymore. but they don't want to cheat. In my opinion, not trying to be rude, but I think open relationships are dumb. From what I've seen, they're always unfair to one person out of the group. It's just not worth it. Story 56. Leave. I've toyed with the idea outside of being in a serious relationship. For me personally, if I was to entertain it, it just came out in the wash that I simply didn't care about that person as much as I should have. Truth is, and I don't know how normal this is, but I'm just not wired that way. When I have strong feelings for someone, up to being madly in love with them, it makes me sick to think of anyone else with them. I require monogamy. Some people try to argue monogamy to be unnatural or whatever, but I just simply don't see myself having it any other way. Trust is huge to me, and this falls in line with it. It's my standard, the ultimate one. Story 57. My husband and I had an open relationship for a few months. I brought it up. I'm a very intimate person. He's not. He agreed. We both went out with people, and I became very jealous. He became unhappy about my person, but I never took out my frustration on him. I learned to better control my emotions through this. We actually got really, really good at communicating because we don't want to hide anything from each other. We ended the open relationship thing, and I think it actually made us better. But I would say we were a rare situation. We both agreed everyone was just awful, and we liked that we knew each other so well. We now have a better understanding of each other, and actually, it's like we first met. We haven't been able to keep our hands off each other in a year. I ultimately would recommend against it if you're with the love of your life. There is just too much at stake, I think. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.